Hi everybody, I'm Hank Pellissier. I'm the producer of today's TransHuman Visions event. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to start off by talking a little bit about all of the sponsors. Back there we have Rory Krebs, and he's selling his really incredible smart drugs, his nootropics, Natural Stacks. How many people have already taken their Natural Stack product today? Come on, raise your hand. Good. What did you take? Did you take the Siltap or the Smart Caffeine? Okay, you don't want to tell me. Okay, anyway, he's Roy back there at Natural Stacks is our main sponsor, and it's an incredible product. And later on in the day, we're going to have their chemist. What do you call them? Your herbal chemist?
Research and development.
Abelard Lindsay is going to get up and he's going to talk a little bit about, and we're working out some technical difficulties. Yeah. Okay, we've got some, I want to thank some other sponsors. I had 60 pounds of Uruguayan grass-fed beef donated by Estancia. 60 pounds is a lot, that's like a pound for everybody. Please eat all you want. If you can't eat it all, I'll just give it to you and you can take it home. Let's see, I also want to thank Humanity Plus, who has brought in a lot of speakers, Natasha, Vitamore, Max. I have a special guest speaker, Amy Lee from Humanity Plus will be here. I also want to thank Serious Wonder. Kevin at the door is the executive director of Serious Wonder. It's a transhumanist website. Also, Grace Scott will be a speaker. And I also want to thank Singularity Weblog. Does anybody read Singularity Weblog? Dave helps promote this a lot. Okay, and who else do I want to thank? In this back room over here, you want to wander in there. We've got Origin Press selling a book by Ted Chu. We have, over in the back there, we have a book called Death is Wrong. It's a children's book about attaining immortality. They're going to be speaking really soon. And we have Terracin Foundation is back there. There he is. Jason's waving. Go in that room and find out. We also have a meditation device in there that you want to check out. And actually we have, does anybody know what a transcranial stimulation device is? You do. Rich Lee, a notorious biohacker, he mailed me one in a small packet. Apparently you can make a transcranial stimulus device, I think for under $5 with Carson's Radio Shack, and there's instructions at the front door. So I want to thank all of those people. And I'm going to be bringing them up on stage a little bit to talk about what they do. Also, let's thank Bulletproof Coffee. They gave me, I think, 4 pounds of coffee. Okay, I'm going to start this Futurist conference with sort of a slightly depressing topic that I'm going to kind of try and tie in to make it sound very positive. What I want to talk about is the Hispanic mortality paradox. Has anybody ever heard of this? The Hispanic mortality paradox. You've heard of it. I find it very interesting. I've got some of these statistics up here. In the United States does not do that well in its life expectancy. We're behind most of the developed world. But if you break it down ethnically, it becomes very interesting. Asian Americans in the United States live 4 years longer than Japan. And they live 6 years longer than Taiwan and South Korea. They live longer. Anyway, basically, Asian Americans live longer than Asians. And I find that very interesting. Now, Latinos, the same thing happens. Latino lifespan is 82.8 years. They live 6 years longer here than they do in Mexico, 4 years longer than in any Latin American country, and 1 year longer than they live in Spain. And Spain is one of the longest lived populations in the world. And I find this very interesting. So what is bogging down life expectancy in the United States? I don't have African Americans up here. African Americans, their life expectancy is about 73 years. I do have the largest population in the United States, which I just classified as whites. They only live 78.9 years. They live about the same as Chileans or Denmark, which is the shortest lived Western European country. So it's basically most of the people here in this room, me, the white Americans, are dragging down life expectancy in the United States. Now, why is that? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Yes? Nobody has a guess?
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin. I don't know about that. But I'm going to talk a little bit. Now, what they call this is the Hispanic longevity paradox, because the confusing thing is, usually life expectancy ties in with per capita income and with years of education. So it makes sense that Asian Americans are on the top because they have the highest per capita income in the United States, and they also have the most income, the most education per person. But Latinos do not. They do not have as high a per capita income as whites, and they do not have as many educational years. And I have a whole list of things here that that the Hispanic population is not particularly great at. Hispanic obesity rate is higher than white Americans. Hispanics go to the doctor less. They're less likely to have health insurance. Hispanics have higher blood pressure. They're more likely to be diabetic, and they eat fewer fruits and vegetables. So that's the Hispanic paradox. Everybody's wondering, why are Hispanics outliving white Americans? Okay? In fact, as you see, it's 4 years difference. In Washington, D.C., the difference is 8 years. It's this huge difference. So there's a variety of reasons given. I'm not going to talk about all of them because I only believe there's one. And I'm going to call it, I'm going to say that it is cultural, it's a cultural factor. And that what that is that elderly Hispanics are not as isolated as white Americans. Okay, elderly Hispanics are more likely to live in a neighborhood or in a family situation than whites are. Oh, here's Anatoly, who also wrote about this topic. And I actually lectured on this briefly at University of San Francisco about 3 days ago. And luckily enough, there were 4 Asians in the class and 8 Hispanics. And this is what they told me. All of the Asians said, when my parents grow older, they're going to move in with me. And the Hispanics all said, my parents won't move in with me, but they will live 5 or 10 minutes away. And the white people were all like, nothing like that is happening. I personally, my parents live in Los Angeles. They're 86 years old. They had 7 kids. None of their kids live within 450 miles. So I'm admitting that there's a combination of guilt and remorse and it's confusion. So I think that this Hispanic paradox and what I regard as a solution is interesting because I think transhumanists talk a lot about radical life extension, and most transhumanists are actually, white Americans, and yet we have failed to create a community, successful communities for our elderly, where they can, where they feel. There was an article that came out recently. It was a study by the University of Chicago, and the headline was chronic loneliness is twice as deadly as obesity. And I think we're going to start hearing a lot more about that. This notion that loneliness kills. So I think we need to look at what we can do for our senior citizens. So I have 2 things proposed as solutions. One is that we need co-housing for elderly transhumanists in Scottsdale, Arizona, because that's very near Alcor. And I'm sorry that Max isn't here yet, but I will tell him that later. And the other thing is, we simply need to get elderly transhumanists to come to conferences like this. And I want to welcome you all here because this, for me, is the start of creating community. And I'm so glad you're all here. And we're going to start the show now. Okay, the first speaker that we have is Turchin Alexei. How many people have heard of Turchin just in the last couple of days? Turchin Alexei is suddenly famous for launching a Google action. Okay, here he is. Let's have a big round of applause.
Okay, please start my presentation. The camera?
No.
Test. Okay, please start my presentation.
It's going to take a couple minutes, I'm sorry.
Your computer crashed?
Yeah.
Okay, in fact, I want to say one thing, that everyone has right to life, the right to be alive. And this right is established in Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In the third article of this declaration, everyone has the right to be alive. But our right to be alive is now in danger because we are dying because of aging, we could die because of many different reasons. So our fundamental right is endangered, is infringed, and especially it's because our right to be alive could be realized by scientific research if we start scientific experiments, if we do much more these experiments that is done, then we could extend our life until the moment we reach radical life extension. So even a small increase in personal life expectancy could make one immortal. So even if, because one point soon, we could reach this stage of science development, then we could promote, make human life as long as forever. So, unfortunately, a lot of money is spent on a lot of useless things. For example, military budget in the world